The Piccadilly line is one of the deep level lines of the London Underground. The section under central London passes through many of London's most popular sightseeing locations, which makes it very popular among tourists, especially at weekends. However, many of these stations also have shortcuts that you can use to make your journey faster. Let's take a trip from King's Cross St Pancras to South Kensington, looking at my favourite shortcuts of each station. We start at King's Cross St Pancras, which allows interchange with 5 other underground lines. I've covered this station in more detail in a separate video, but as a general rule, ignore what the signs say and use the corridors at the southern end of the platforms. The station was remodelled in 2009, adding larger interchange corridors that form a long detour for passengers, but you can still use the old corridors for a faster connection. Next, we reach Leicester Square, an unconnected station in Bloomsbury. This station has lifts to take you up to street level or a spiral staircase with 175 steps, which is the equivalent of a 15-story building. In my experience, there are rarely queues for the lifts here, and the waiting time is usually short, so I would recommend taking the lifts rather than the stairs. Next, we get to Holborn, where you can change for the Central Line or exit for the British Museum. If you are ever changing to the westbound Piccadilly line, when you reach the bottom of the second escalator, the signs will tell you to turn right. Ignore this, cut straight through the no entry gate, and you end up on the westbound platform. Obviously, this shortcut only works if the gate has been left open, but at the time of filming, I have rarely seen it closed. Also, when exiting the station, don't forget that you can turn right at the top of the escalators to use the quieter High Holborn exit, instead of queuing for the main ticket gates onto Kingsway. After this, we reach Covent Garden, which serves Covent Garden Market and the London Transport Museum. It's arranged in a similar way to Leicester Square, but Covent Garden is much busier. Here, you will usually have to queue for the lifts, so if you can, it may be better to use the spiral staircase, which has 193 steps and is the equivalent of a 15-story building. Also, this station is sometimes closed or exit only at peak times to reduce overcrowding, so it may be better to walk from Leicester Square, which takes around 4 minutes. At Leicester Square station, you can change for the Northern Line or exit into the heart of Theatreland. Here, the shortcut situation is similar to King's Cross St Pancras, where the signs send passengers through a longer route to interchange between the 2 lines, even though a shorter route exists. When changing to the Northern Line, ignore the signs and use the stairs at the western end of the Piccadilly line platforms. This brings you to the southern end of the Northern Line platforms and is much faster than the signed corridor. Next is Piccadilly Circus, where you can change for the Bakerloo line or exit to see the Eros statue and a building covered in adverts. Firstly, when entering the station, there are separate escalators for the Piccadilly and Bakerloo lines, and the Piccadilly line escalators are usually busier. But these 2 escalators in fact go down to the same place, so you can simply use the quieter escalator regardless of which line you need. And secondly, when changing from the Piccadilly to the Bakerloo, ignore the signs and head for the way out. Keep right and go up this short spiral staircase, which brings you straight onto the northbound Bakerloo line platform. You can then use this staircase for the southbound. This shortcut is roughly twice as fast as the signed route. It can also be used from the northbound Bakerloo to the Piccadilly line, but at busy times, you might have to battle passengers trying to leave the station. If this happens, turn right with them and turn left before you get to the escalators. It's still faster than the signed route. At Green Park, there are long interchange corridors connecting the Piccadilly line with the Jubilee and Victoria lines. Unfortunately, there are no nice shortcuts here, so these corridors are the way to go. It can sometimes be faster to walk up and down the escalators rather than changing underground, but in my experience, the escalators can often get congested at busy times, making this shortcut slower than the signed route. In general, I would recommend following the signs at this station. Also, if you're visiting Buckingham Palace, use the exit that brings you out into Green Park itself for a pleasant 10-minute walk outside. Next, we have Hyde Park Corner, where again there are no nice shortcuts underground. However, when outside the station, you often have to cross many busy roads to walk around the roundabout at Hyde Park Corner. The subways that connect to the tube station pass under the roundabout, so they can be quicker and safer than waiting for a pedestrian crossing. After this, we reach Knightsbridge, the only tube station with 6 consonants in a row. The station has 2 exits. Firstly, the main exit on Sloane Street, near the eastern end of the platforms, and secondly, the smaller exit at the western end of the platforms. If you're visiting Harrods, use this exit and make sure you are at the western end of the train. The platforms are quite narrow here and can get very busy, so walking along them is not advised. I would recommend making sure you are in the correct carriage to exit safely without walking along the platform. And finally, we have South Kensington. Among other attractions, this station serves 3 major museums, which are connected to the station by a long subway under Exhibition Road. When exiting from the Piccadilly line, this second set of escalators can get congested at busy times. To avoid them, simply continue straight towards the Circle and District lines. You can then walk along the platforms, which is usually a less crowded exit route. So those are some of my favourite shortcuts from the central section of the Piccadilly line. If you found these useful, consider subscribing for more. Thanks for watching!